Hello, dear friend, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Alicia. Today, we are going to be exploring some of the signs and symptoms of a Kundalini awakening, what you need to be aware of if you are going through a Kundalini awakening, and what you can do to get yourself through it. It's not always an easy thing. I created this channel to share my journey of moving from my 17-year corporate career, going into my passion with my business, Intentions Yoga. I am a Kundalini yoga instructor. I did get intuitively led to the practice of Kundalini years before I had an awakening, and I also spent a year in a mystery school putting together all these metaphysical pieces that we really don't get taught. And when I did go through my Kundalini awakening, one of the biggest things that helped me was having the knowledge and the wisdom and having a reference point for what was happening. Because in the Western world, in the modern Western world, we just are not taught this. And so I think what we often see is people thinking it's psychosis, people thinking they're God, people going to medical centers and maybe getting put on drugs and stopping what is actually a natural progression of human evolution and consciousness, which is something that's energetic and we don't really know too much about. That being said, though, I do caution I am not a medical professional. This is purely my experience, my opinion. If things are happening to you, please go and seek out a professional whom you trust. I would highly suggest somebody in the holistic world. So before I start, I want to clear the energy. Today we are in my yoga studio. My yoga studio is in my basement. It's absolutely beautiful. It's been this refuge for me as I've gone through my journey in the last few years, which hasn't always been easy. It's been a little tumultuous. Clearing the energy. Bringing only helpful wisdom that will inspire and help you on your way. So, in 2020, when I realized I needed to start doing more with purpose, with passion, like this, it was an awakening of sorts, but it was a very mental awakening, a drive within me, my soul waking up to the experience I was having in the world and wanting more, wanting to experience more, knowing, feeling I was here for a purpose, for a divine reason. And the more I leaned into that, the better I felt. So I kept going. I had been practicing yoga, which is one of the things that I believe helped me to open up, helped me to go within. And in 2020, when I took my teacher training, then as soon as we did a chapter on Kundalini, and it was just like this deep knowing, I have to do that. I have to. I had never even taken a Kundalini yoga class. I called the credit card company to up how much I could take out on or how much I could spend on my credit card. And then it was during COVID. So I did online training with a lady out of Australia. And it was a beautiful, very modern training. So all of my Kundalini yoga training has come from women, and it's come from a very modern approach. So it's not all covered in that, you have to wear white, you have to do this, you have to do, none of that, which is great for me because I'm totally not into that kind of thing. I don't like to follow rules. I like to feel, I like to experience, but I like to do it on my own terms. So that was perfect for me, I guess, right? So that's what I found. Did my teacher training, so I had all the concepts. I knew what mechanically in the body, what was happening in a Kundalini awakening, or just in the mechanism of how Kundalini energy, what it is, what it's doing. So I'll explain that to you in case you don't know. Divine spark of pure potential, Kundalini life force energy, coiled like a snake at the base of our spine. I like to believe it is that spark of soul. That's your soul. It's pure potential. It's the hunk of clay before the hands come and mold it One way to think about it is the divine feminine is that spark of pure potential, and then the divine masculine are the hands that mold the clay. One way of thinking about it, you do not have to think about it that way if that type of thinking is not your jam. What happens? We have energy, an energy body. It's like a map of who we are, and it's known as the chakras. It goes from just the 7 main ones. There's so many other disciplines that talk about like all these other chakras, and they're likely true, and I just haven't gone into that yet. So I've stuck with these like the primary chakras from the root, sacral, solar, heart, throat, third eye, crown. And you can think of the energy of a human being that's encoded into each of these chakras as like an evolutionary part of us. And as the energy rises, it evolves. One of the biggest things is coming into the heart. And in Kundalini Yoga, we talk about moving from me to we. And the heart is that great unifier where we can understand that we are part of a bigger picture, part of the whole, and we get, hello. And and those lower 3 chakras, which are the root, the sacral, and the solar, which have to do with security, relationships, sexuality, and expression, and what we're going to bring forth into the world. Very human, right? Like, how do we exist on like Earth, right? And that's all in those lower chakras. The practice of Kundalini Yoga is helping us to evolve past just being in that muck in the earth, which isn't bad. But if we get stuck there, we get stuck, like oftentimes when we're stuck in the solar plexus, our expression, how we express into the world, we can get stuck in ego. And it's not honestly very helpful for our soul in the long run. So we do want to move up into the heart. It comes with a whole lot of lessons, right? It's like that heart bridge you have to cross. And before you can do that, you need to let go of your baggage. You need to really look at what has been sticking around in your human. Do you feel secure? What are your relationships like? How do you express yourself in the world? What are you stuck in there? Because some of that stuff is too heavy. And it's like you're gonna cross this like beautiful like rope bridge in the jungle, or like etheric on a mountaintop or something. And you just can't take all that heavy human baggage with you. You have to learn your lessons. And sometimes I just like see it like at one point I just had to stop, open up all the bags, and just sit down cross-legged and just start going through the pieces. Start deciding what needed what, how I needed to heal this, what this needed, maybe this needed more, maybe I needed to reach out and get help, right? That there was a certain piece that was like, okay, no, I need help. And so that is the energy system. As you move up past the heart, you get into the throat, that's speaking your truth, your values, who you actually are. Are you expressing who you actually are into the world? Not who people told you to be, not who you think you have to be safe, right? But who you really are, And that's like, speak your truth. You often see that. The third eye, that's our main player, that's our visionary, that's our intuition, imagination. I like to think about it, whatever you can believe, whatever you can imagine, you can create. So when we have connection and contact with our third eye, we understand that what we believe, what we imagine the world to be, it can be. There's no victim consciousness left there. None. We are unstoppable, but grounded, right? And then when you move up to the crown, that's a connection to source, God, divinity, creator, whatever you believe it to be at this point. I love all the players, Jesus, Buddha, Mother Mary, all of them. I do not necessarily like all the boxes they are put into. So I know there's a guiding force. I know there's a divine plan, a rhythm that's supportive, and I can get into that rhythm. And I guess that's what that is for me. So all of these chakras also have elements. The mechanism of Kundalini Yoga as it was taught to me is in the solar plexus, we use fire breath and we generate a lot of heat. And that is in our solar plexus. That energy shoots down into Muladhara, which is the root, awakens the Kundalini, and then together you end up with the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies rising up, spinning around. There's these three naughty points. It can get like, you can just get like so much more like lost in the theory, but there's essentially the left side of our body connected to the right side of our brain. That's our divine feminine. That is, there's Pingala, Ida. Ida's on the left, and that's our feminine. On the right, that's Pingala connected to the left. And when we have our divine feminine, divine masculine, they move around in a Kundalini awakening. These energies like rise up from Muladhara. They elevate all through the chakras, clearing out the chakras. You know, like those, like the baggage kind of idea. The Kundalini energy, like if you are not maybe looking through the baggage quick enough and you have work to do, they're gonna bust those open and you're gonna have to deal with all of it all at once. And that's why it can be overwhelming, and that's why it can be scary, because as this energy rises up, it doesn't give you the chance to slowly move through it, to make the steps you need to call the people, to get the support. It just all happens at once. And it's a massive clearing out, because the energy is trying to move up. And this is where people, when they're forced to see too many things all at once, it can be overwhelming. So the energy moves up into the third eye, opens the third eye, and gives you access to the ability to imagine the world in which you want to see, to overcome victim consciousness, and to step in to who you're supposed to be as a human being on this earth, expressing your soul. Great, got it? Good. So that's the like technical theory behind it, but like the experience is different, much different. And I've talked to a lot of people, like, and this is like only my experience, and I don't have a guru. Nobody has told me what this is. This is simply like me reading books and being like, okay, like having that experiential connection. So explain to you what happened to me. And, you know, like take it or leave it, or hopefully it helps. And again, like, because this happened like this to me, I haven't actually talked to any other human being that has had this type of experience. So, yeah, but okay, so I'll just get on with it then. It happened in a sequence of a week. What it felt like was a rise and a fall. So in my past, like I've done drugs, I've done MDMA, and it was like that. It was like a rise with a peak, and then you dissipate down. So if you've ever done that, or maybe even psychedelics or whatever, started on a Wednesday, my brain just started to really expand. I couldn't concentrate. It was going into like I had been on the internet, I had been watching podcasts, I was all into like star seeds and metaphysical stuff and Hermeticism and ancient wisdom and Atlantis and like all of that, right? And I'd been like into that since 2020, really, really deeply. And so it was just like this, it's like these gates open in my brain that like took me further into a deeper grounded understanding than I could ever have, but which meant while I was sitting at my like 9-to-5 office job, I would just like stop mid-email and just like my brain would just go off. It's like I felt like what I could think of a person with ADHD feels like just stop, and then your mind just like goes. I was able to hold it together at least until Friday afternoon when I had to go home, because it's just like my body was starting to feel weird. It was like tingles, like anxiety, but not anxiety, because I wasn't really, like I wasn't anxious and I wasn't scared, but I was kind of like, holy shit, what is going on? And I remember coming home and laying on the couch. And then I went to a metaphysical shop. I got a galena crystal. I got a bismuth crystal. I was not a crystal person at this time, but I just knew I had to get these that night when I went to bed. Like everything just kept like rising and rising. And it was kind of like, I was just kind of in shock. I didn't know what was going on. I just spent a lot of time on the couch. And that night when I went to bed, I put the galena on my solar plexus and bismuth on my third eye. And as I was laying there, it's like that's when that like peak happened. And it was like my third eye went and opened up, and I was flying through space. and like that lasted for a bit. And I remember getting out of bed and like walking into my kitchen and kind of like walking around the house and being like, whoa, this just happened. And luckily at that point I was like, okay, this is the first time that I can remember in the experience that I was like, okay, my third eye just opened. This is what's happening to me. I know what's happening to me. And that gave me like a little bit of, I don't know. Like, I mean, I wasn't calling people. I didn't feel like I needed to go to the hospital. I wasn't like scared. I was just like riding it out, I guess. That when I went to bed after that, I fell asleep, and this is where it gets really like Carl Jung subconscious archetype-y. And this is what I'm going to relate to, like the energy moving up through the chakras and just busting all the stuff that was in my subconscious that could no longer come with me. And it was like bringing it to the forefront. And how it did this was like, I fell asleep and Queen Mob pulled me through like this like black veil, and I would start to fall asleep and I would have a dream about something from my life that was like traumatic, from small things to like big things. And as I would just fall asleep and I'd start to dream, then I would wake up and all the information would be there for me and I would deal with it. I remember like just walking around my house, sitting on the couch, journaling, kind of like working with it. And this is the really woo part, is earth, air, fire, water. These magical tools, earth to ground, water to clear, fire to burn, and air to heal. And it's like I was doing ritual and spell work and letting this energy go, like almost like working with the trauma energy as it was being released. And I knew exactly how to do this, which was so far out. Chanting, saying things, and like, it's like, it was very methodical. And it felt really good. Like it, at the end of most of these, I'd fall asleep, wake up, deal, fall asleep, wake up, deal. And I would end up on the couch, like just breathing really deeply. And it's like breathing all the energy out. Some of the other symptoms that I experienced is I could not plan for the future. I had to stay right in the present moment. If I did that, I could easily maneuver. I knew exactly the next step to take. And it was as if I was pulling myself into my highest timeline. But in order to do that, I had to stay strictly in the present moment, because the next decision I made mattered. The next decision I made mattered. Not the decision I made 2 weeks ago, not the meal that I planned for the next night. I couldn't go shopping to the grocery store and like follow a list, but I could make a beautiful meal just opening up my fridge and randomly picking things. Like I made this amazing mushroom sandwich that like I still make now, because I'm like, wow, like where did that even come from? It was so good. Okay, what else? Like pulled into the forefront of my reality to make decisions, to make choices, to pull myself into the higher timeline. I could feel things. I could feel into like my family bloodline, into my ancestry. And it's like I knew things, like just knew things. When I would look at like pictures and stuff on the wall, I could see all the energy encoded around why I picked that picture, what was working, what was in my subconscious that caused me to pick that. I could see the energy on things if things were given to me and they didn't have the highest intention. I could see things that I was holding on to that were keeping me stuck, that I didn't have the highest intention for myself, or I was like holding on to it because I felt like a victim or something. Like a lot of that. I started to clean. At one point, like I had been to a shaman about this whole thing where I had started to having these like recollections of being a Mexican drug lord in a past life. And I went to the shaman and he told me, this is like way before all this happened. And he told me, no, you weren't a Mexican drug lord, like you were a drug runner, but you were taking care of this woman, and one day she was going to rise and be a great leader. As I was going through this awakening, I remember walking up the front steps to my house, and I knew like that that Mexican drug guy of my past life me was dead. And I walked into my house and I remember putting my hands on the table and like the shaman's words came back to me. It was like, and she will be a great leader. And I was like, oh my God. He wasn't talking about like another person. He was talking about like me. And like all of a sudden time went from like linear to like everything's happening all at once. And I could feel it. Everything happening all at once. There was other lives I could tap into. There was this one like where I was a black male. And again, these things had come up in, I did like a past life regression with this lady. And oh man, it really put things into perspective. It really gave me a deeper understanding. And like all of that information that was encoded on everything, it was it was like what's running in the background all the time. And there's always so much information in everybody's actions and everybody's words like that like goes into what's happening. And we're just seeing this like one dimension or this like flat thing, but it's like, it is like computer code behind everything that's created the simulation. But that computer code is made up of like microaggressions and past experiences and karma, and like all of that is going into like absolutely everything to every moment as it moves forward. It was too much. It was too much. I remember playing with my tarot cards and it was like, I remember having this feeling like, oh, now that you could have every answer that you possibly want, like I didn't want it. I didn't want it. So started on Wednesday, the really big moments were during the weekend. Monday, I was getting a little spooked that I would never come down, called my dad. Things started to dissipate by then. Tuesday, another very interesting thing is I was cleaning my home and singing these beautiful Gaelic hymns. And it really felt like I was grounding my earth angel. But as she like came down to the earth, she was like wearing combat boots. So it's like, and it's like, you know, like battle angel or something, which I don't know if that's a good, if that's, I don't know. It felt really groovy at the time though, I gotta tell you. And it's a pretty fun archetype to lean into, you know, being this like kick-ass angel type thing. Like dragon energy, could feel into dragon energy a lot. I do have a guide who is a dragon and just really could really feel into like all of those things so deeply. When I lit incense, I could like see how it actually accentuated the energy and it like could help me see more. But then as you like see into all the like little energy, it's like, whoa, like, cause it just doesn't end. There's just so freaking much. So freaking much. So yeah, and then I went back to work to the law firm. And on the Thursday, I finally went back. And it was just like, it felt good to be back to like, back in the box and like having some structure and having some like, but it was still like, there was still these little like downloads of things and you could see I could see different things. And so that was really exciting. And it just felt like my whole world was just kind of like you just took the volume and just turned it up. It got brighter. And I kind of connect that with like all that clearing out. Like I cried for like 2 hours about a cat who had passed away when I was like I was 7, not in grade 7. I was quite young. And I never properly grieved for my cat. And like that was inside of me, shaping my reality. Because I never grieved for my cat properly. Now, that was just a very simple one I can share with you. Of course, we all have many different layers of things that we go through our life and things that my ancestors went through and that I'm carrying along with them and healing for them. I think I'm inspired to share because, well, I'm just so lucky that I had all those references to all the different like magical ideas and concepts to really ground what was happening metaphysically in my body. My whole body felt sensitive, like it was just supercharged, right? Like, and I share because I believe this happens more and more to people, and I believe that because they don't have a reference point to the energy of how it's working, they can go off the deep end. They can, like, I mean, honestly, and I don't blame them. One day you're walking around all normal. The next day you can feel your family lineage back to molten hot lava. Like it feels like, wow, you must have all the information. So you must be special. But actually, it's a normal thing of human evolution of consciousness that in some people just needs to happen a lot more quickly. And I think it's going to be. Somebody once said we're all like little popcorns. And like, so then when one gets warm, it warms up the other. And so then it's this whole pop experience. I love popcorn. I love popcorn so much. Yeah, and I think if I would have went to the doctor and they wouldn't have known what was going on, they would have put me on antipsychotics. Now, very, very careful here, because I have a history of addiction. I've never had to take antipsychotics. I would never harm myself. I would never harm other people. Like, talk to somebody that you care about. Research Carl Jung's work on Kundalini awakening, on subconscious, on healing, and really, really use your own discernment here. This isn't about me telling you what you should or shouldn't do. This is me making you aware of an experience that I had and what I made of it. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe to my brand new channel. Please like the video and please share with a friend. Let's wake up in harmony together, my friend. Take sweet care. Bye for now.